In this lecture, I'll be talking to you about the importance of tonality, and that's how you sound to your audience. Now, just like every good singer warms up their voice just before they're about to sing, so should you. You should be also warming up your voice just before you talk. You don't want to be one of those presenters that stays silent and doesn't talk much to other people because you're so nervous just before your talk. And so you're actually warming up your voice in the first 5 to 7 minutes of your talk, because then your voice sounds too cold. So before I get into the content of the aspects of what brings in good tonality, you now need to learn how to warm up your voice. So how do you do this? Number one is just to talk. So I would suggest that on your way to the venue, play your favorite song in the car and sing that all out as if you are in front of a live audience. And choose a song that you can have different notes with, the high notes, the low notes, because that helps to warm up your voice. 2, at the venue, start talking. Talk to people. Go and speak to the audience members that are there already. Speak to the host. Speak as much as possible, but don't stay quiet, because those moments just before your talk also helps you to calm down your nerves. And then number 3, this happens way before your talk. During the rehearsal section, have time to bring in tonality where you are learning to quicken your pace, to slow down your pace, to modulate your voice between, very fast, very slow, stern, deep, and so that when you are delivering your speech live, you're bringing in a variety of tonality. Let's now look at the different factors that bring in a good vocal variety. Number 1 is how you modulate your voice. So are you speaking at one tone, or are you adding some variety to your voice? You don't want to be sounding like one of those monotonous presenters. Number 2 is your tone of voice. Are you sounding, friendly? Are you sounding stern? Are you sounding shy? Are you sounding fearful? Are you coming across as defensive? So your tone of voice actually signals one of these emotions. I'm hoping that you're going to sound a little bit more conversational and natural as a speaker. Number 3 is your pitch. Do you have a deep pitch? Do you have a medium pitch? Do you have a light pitch? And where in your speech are you bringing in this? Number 4 is the word sense stress. So it's how you are stressing certain words to make it sound a little bit more important. So I could say this desk versus this desk versus this desk is here. So as you can see, by stressing different words, adding more emphasis, it changes the meaning. Number 5 is the power of your voice. Are you able to project your voice? Can people hear you at the back row, even without a microphone? Then you're looking at number 6, which is volume, which is basically how loud or soft you come across. Then number 7 is clarity of your voice. How articulate are you? Are you pronunciating the words correctly? Do people understand what it is that you are saying? Crutch words is your next area to look at. Now, every person has a crutch word. Just as you have a crutch to walk, you have a crutch to speak. The more common crutch words are words like like, so, and also. And these are words that people just throw into their conversation to fill up the dead space. And I'm saying, instead of filling up that space, learn to stay still, to pause. Don't say anything. Get the words together, and when you have the word, then you continue speaking. The last 2 factors to consider is the pace of your talk. Are you a fast speaker, naturally, or are you a slow speaker? Or are you moderately paced? And finally, do you pause enough? Do you just speak too fast without pausing? So when you look at all these factors combined, they bring in your overall tonality. Now I'd like to take you through 4 different archetypes that bring in these various factors of tonality. Let's get into it. The first archetype of your tonality is what is known as a sage speaker. When you are in this mode, you're speaking very softly. There's lots of pause in between your speech. So regardless of what you're saying, everything sounds important. Now you could be a sage speaker naturally, but you can't be a sage speaker all the time because you're eventually going to sound very boring. Your audience might even sleep during your presentation. But it's important to bring a sage speaker at the time when you're talking about important points or points of wisdom. And you tend to bring out the sage speaker in your power perch. On the other end of the spectrum, we have what is known as a warrior tonality. And as a warrior tonality, you're speaking very fast, you're speaking very loud. There's hardly any pause in between your speech. And you could be naturally a warrior speaker yourself. But if you're going to speak like this all the time, then at some point it's going to sound as if you are shouting at your audience. So you can't speak on this tonality all the time. So what you need to do is bring in this tonality at times when you want to call to action your audience, get them all excited about something that you are talking about, or you're coming to the end of your presentation and you want to get them to do something or perform an activity. Now, in the middle is what is known as a lover tonality. A lover tonality is neither too fast, not too slow. It's not too loud, it's not too soft. And you're basically in this tonality where you're drawing your audience to your message. It's evenly paced. And in this tonality, you can naturally be like this, but then you'll be coming across as being a monotonous speaker. So what you need to do is to vary your pace and to bring in a little bit more sage and to bring in more warrior tonality. And finally, there's the jester tonality. Naturally, you could be speaking like a jester. And what this means is you sound comedic. You have a smile on your face all the time. Or as you speak, you make all these quips and jokes on your topic. So even before you get to the critical parts, you are already joking and laughing with your audience. So it comes across as being too comedian. Now the problem with that is, whilst it's okay to bring in jester now and then, if you're doing it all the time, then no one's going to take your message seriously. So now that you know the 4 archetypes, what do you do? So what I'd like you to do right now is to look at this diagram, and your aim as a speaker is to bring in all 4 archetypes of tonality. So when you are rehearsing, try to bring in sage at the points of wisdom when you are clarifying points. Bring in warrior when you are concluding your speech and calling to action in terms of what your audience needs to do next. You bring in more lover tonality when you are talking about the content, you're drawing your audience in. And you're bringing in a jester tonality, like its unusual voice, at the moments of your stories perhaps, or points in your speech when you want to bring in humor. And so by bringing in all 4 archetypes, you're bringing in a variety of vocals and adding much more depth to yourself as a presenter and the way that your audience listens to your speech. Let's now move to the next lecture, where I'll talk to you about how to acclimatize yourself to the venue, regardless if it's a big stage or a boardroom setup. Let's go there now.